Peace. Hi, it's Heart Love. Welcome to the YouTube live book reading of Clinical Application of Respiratory Care by Barry A. Shapiro, Ronald A. Harrison, and Carole A. Trout. So we pick up, it's the third time. The third time is the charm. We pick up at section 2. Oxygen therapy. We have now entered the second section of this masterful book. Thank you so much for being here. Page 117, Oxygenation. Welcome, YouTube. Welcome to the live book reading here on YouTube. So, chapter 6, we did it, made it. Oxygenation, one of my favorite concepts in this book. Very key. The transport and delivery of oxygen to body tissues is the essence of respiratory care. However, unlike modern miracle drugs, oxygen has been either taken for granted or ignored as a therapeutic agent. Oxygen therapy can be instituted with relative ease and, unfortunately, with little thought or rationale. Advances in respiratory care have made it obvious that our concepts of oxygen administration must be reviewed and revised. The foundation for the rational use of oxygen is knowledge of its pharmacokinetics and appreciation of the biomedical changes induced by too much tissue oxygen, hyperoxia, and too little tissue oxygen, hypoxia. Oxygen is the third most abundant atom in the universe, the second most abundant atom in the biosphere, and the most abundant atom on the Earth's crust. Ding! As the Earth's atmosphere developed from one containing primarily oxygen, a reducing atmosphere developed from one containing primarily hydrogen, which is reducing atmosphere, to one containing primarily oxygen, an oxidizing atmosphere. Oxygen became available as an energy source for the development of cellular life because it was abundant, accessible, and possessed a high potential. Thus, life forms developed utilizing oxygen as the primary biomedical storage type of energy. In fact, complex forms of life evolved only after mechanisms for maintaining the cellular oxygen environment were developed. The transition to an oxygen atmosphere forced complex biologic systems to develop defenses against the toxic effects of oxygen. These toxic effects of oxygen were first alluded to by the discoverers of oxygen. In 1785, Lavoisier noted that oxygen must be considered a biomedical double-edged sword. It not only promotes life, but also destroys life. He observed that when there is an excess of oxygen, an animal undergoes a severe illness. When oxygen is lacking, death is almost instantaneous. We now understand that increasing the oxygen tension in tissues will increase the available energy for biologic processes. However, more of the cellular constituents will be destroyed as oxygen tension increases. These two effects occur at all concentrations of oxygen, and thus there must be an oxygen pressure at which biologic activity is optimal. If the oxygen tension is significantly above or below this optimal pressure, biologic consequences will be dire. Our biologic system have evolved complex and varied forms of cellular antioxidant defenses. The most universal defense in complex animal forms is the barriers placed in oxygen's path from the external environment to the intracellular environment. An inspired oxygen tension of 60 millimeters Hg results in an intracellular oxygen pressure that the rat cortex of only zero point 0.6 millimeters Hg, and oxygen tension reduction of 100-fold. Peace, you too. Hi, Heart Mouth. Welcome. Thank you for reading with us. Clinical application of respiratory care. Second edition. Thank you so much. We're at the top of page 118. All those in the playlist. This is another one for the playlist. Read along with us. Another major defense against cellular oxygen toxicity is that our atmosphere is composed mainly of nitrogen, an inert gas that suppresses oxidation. Oxygen is in the absence of inert gases like nitrogen, which presses oxidation. Mhm. Tends to make homeostatic systems decrease oxygen transport to tissues, e.g., atelectasis is more prevalent in pure oxygen environments. Despite the dangers of cellular oxygen toxicity, there can be no serious objection to the administration of oxygen for the clinical support of the cardiopulmonary system. As is true with the administration of any drug, oxygen must never be administered without good reason and must always be administered properly and safely. The process of oxygenation is complex and can be related to cardiopulmonary homeostasis in three stages. One, external respiration. Two, blood oxygen transport. And three, internal respiration. Middle of page 118. External respiration. External respiration is the transfer of oxygen molecules from atmosphere to blood. See chapter 4, which we already read. Oxygen molecules are constantly leaving the alveolus and entering the pulmonary blood. All alveolar oxygen exists as a free gas, and therefore each molecule exerts a pressure. A decrease in alveolar oxygen content will result in a linear decrease in alveolar oxygen tension. On the other hand, most oxygen molecules entering the blood attach to desaturated hemoglobin and therefore do not directly exert a pressure. Figure 6.1. This means that Blood will not show a linear oxygen tension increase for a linear gain in oxygen volume. At normal atmospheres, a given volume of oxygen leaving the alveolus and entering the blood will result in alveolar oxygen tensions decreasing at a much faster rate than blood oxygen tensions will increase. Pulmonary capillary blood is ideally in equilibrium with alveolar air, and therefore it is impossible for the left heart blood to have a higher oxygen tension than exists in the alveoli. Alveolar oxygen tension is the major limiting factor in the oxygenation of desaturated blood. Therefore, it is essential for us to review the major facts involved in determining the alveolar oxygen tension. 1. Fraction of inspired oxygen. 2. Alveolar gas exchange. 3. Mixed venous oxygen content. And 4. Distribution of ventilation. Welcome, YouTube. Peace, everyone. Hi, it's Heart Love. Thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you. Yes, we are the superheroes in the world that bring this information for free. Help to heal one another, help to heal ourselves, master ourselves. This is a self mastery master book. One that helps people take the MCAT. So this is the second edition right here. Hi, it's Heart Love. All the medical professionals, nurses, doctors, all of them had to come through and read this information. And so we are giving it here on YouTube live for free. Thank you so much. Is the reading of chapter 6, Oxygenation. Yes, powerful, right? Powerful. All right. 6.1 is a theoretic representation of alveolar capillary oxygen equilibration. So you'll see as time increases, the oxygen, the PO2 decreases. Okay. See this at the top of page 119. Thank you so much for reading with us. We're going to get it right. Master is always mastering. So we will get it right. I have a new microphone or a birthday gift. My birthday's August 25th. It's coming up. Goddess Oracle Coco Elo Shun donated this beautiful mic. So powerful. Much love and highest heart love to all of you. Thank you so much for reading with us. So what it says is the theoretic representation of alveolar capillary oxygen equilibration. Solid line represents alveolar oxygen tension. Dotted line represents capillary oxygen tension. At point A, the alveolus is enriched with fresh oxygen molecules, whereas the capillary blood is desaturated and has a low PO2. If ventilation and perfusion were to instantaneously stop, oxygen equilibration would be achieved at point B. Alveolar oxygen pressure would decrease faster than capillary oxygen pressure would increase. Of course, numerous other factors are significant in the actual dynamic process of respiratory function. Welcome to the peaceful place in YouTube where we read books and learn from masters. We are now on page 119 of clinical application of respiratory care. Anyone studying, get their MCAT. This is that book. Thank you so much for being here and reading with us. Fraction of inspired oxygen, or FiO2. At sea level, the normal individual breathing room air is 20.9% oxygen. Shows a drop in oxygen tension from 159 millimeters Hg just outside the mouth to 101 millimeters Hg in the alveolus. Table 6.1 shows the partial pressures of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water vapor under normal circumstances. The decrease in oxygen tension from the atmosphere to the alveolus is due to several factors. One, the addition of water vapor pressure. Two, the addition of volume uh, of carbon dioxide, as well as the removal of a volume of oxygen from the alveolus. And three, the incomplete pulmonary gas exchange with every breath, right? Inspiration, expiration, inspiration, expiration. Just like the heartbeat. 1, 2, 1, 2. Three, the incomplete pulmonary gas exchange with every breath. Increasing the percentage of oxygen in the inspired atmosphere will obviously cause an increased alveolar oxygen tension. For practical clinical purposes, we must be able to calculate an approximate ideal alveolar oxygen tension. Table 6.2 delineates the universally accepted manner of clinically calculating ideal alveolar oxygen tension. Peace, peace. All right, here's table 6.1, and it shows the nitrogen content, oxygen content, carbon dioxide content, and water vapor content. And then it's at in the air, and then in the trachea, and then in the alveolus. Hi, it's Heart Love. Thank you so much. Peace, Leo. Thank you for reading books with us here live from the light in LA on YouTube. All right. So the nitrogen breakdown from air to trachea to alveolus is nitrogen 79% in the air, or 601 millimeters Hg. In the trachea, it's 564 millimeters Hg. In the alveolus, it's 572 millimeters Hg. Oxygen breaks down at 20.9%, or 159 millimeters Hg in the air. In the trachea, it would be 149 millimeters Hg. In the alveolus, it would be 101 millimeters Hg of oxygen. In carbon dioxide, in the carbon dioxide breakdown in the air is 0.04%, or zero point 0.3 millimeters Hg of air content. In the trachea, oxygen or carbon dioxide would be zero point 0.3 in the trachea and 40 millimeters Hg in the alveolus. And water vapor is variable. So in the trachea, it would be 47 millimeters Hg, and in the alveolus, it would be 47 millimeters Hg. Highest heart love. Welcome for being here with us. Yes, we are the light workers, the true champions in this world, giving you the information for free. $3,500 book here. And that's what we do. Light workers. We want the people to be able to heal themselves and others. So thank you for being here. We are the good guys over here, the superheroes. Alveolar gas exchange. It is essential for an alveolus to contain gas during inspiration and expiration so that respiration may occur throughout the entire cycle. See Chapter 4. This means that some gas volume must be maintained within the alveolus during expiration. The degree of replenishment of alveolar gas on inspiration will depend upon the resistance to gas flow in and out of the alveolus and the elastic properties of that alveolus. See Chapter 3. It should be obvious that the greater the alveolar gas exchange, the greater the delivery of oxygen molecules to the alveolus per unit. Therefore, a major factor in determining the alveolar oxygen tension would be the degree of alveolar gas exchange. Mixed venous oxygen content. Yes. VO2 max. That's what we're doing. Thank you so much for reading books with us. Hi, it's Heart Love. We are on page 120. All right. Mixed venous oxygen content. Welcome, YouTube. Normal transit time for blood through a pulmonary capillary is zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.7 seconds, more than ample time for complete equilibration with alveolar oxygen tensions as long as diffusion is normal and the alveolar oxygen tension is greater than 80 millimeters Hg. The hemoglobin saturation curve, figure 6.2, dictates that the less saturated the hemoglobin, the greater the volume of oxygen necessary to accomplish a predicted increase in oxygen tension. As venous blood becomes more desaturated, the demand for greater oxygen volumes is increased for any predicted rise in blood oxygen tension. Peace, highest heart, love, Tanu. Thank you. We are in peace reading clinical application of respiratory care. Thank you so much for being here and reading books with us. Table 6.2, calculation of ideal alveolar oxygen tension. The PaO2 equals PB minus PHO2, and then FiO2 minus PaCO2 gets you 1.25. And that's dealing with the ratios. So the PaO2 equals alveolar O2 tension, and the PB equals the barometric pressure, 760 millimeters Hg at sea level. And then the pH 2O equals the water vapor tension, 47 millimeters Hg. Peace, highest heart, love, go, go. I was just telling them about the mic that you got me for my solar return. Highest heart, love. So we're doing it a third time because something happened where the sound went out. So yeah, you get to catch a live divine rising. Highest heart, love. Thank you so much. We're at the bottom of page 120. Hope it sounds wonderful. Peace, love, and abundant light. Peace, Coco. Love. All right. And then the FiO2 O2 equals the fraction of inspired oxygen. Third time's the charm. That's right. You know it. Oh, gratitude and highest heart love. And the PaCO2 equals arterial carbon dioxide tension. Page 121, moving on. And this is figure 6.2. This shows the line on curve. All right. The oxygenation. You see the saturation on the vertical bar, and on the horizontal bar is the partial pressure O2. Top of page 121 of clinical application of respiratory care by Barry A. Shapiro, Ronald A. Harrison, and Carole A. Trout. Second edition. All right. So it says the hemoglobin dissociation curve. This curve shows the relationship of plasma oxygen partial pressure to the degree to which potential oxygen carrying hemoglobin sites have oxygen attached. Percentage saturation oxygen. This nonlinear relationship accounts for most of the oxygen reserves in blood. Normally, hemoglobin is 50% saturated at a plasma PO2 of approximately 27 millimeters Hg. This is designated P50. Normal venous blood has an oxygen partial pressure, PVO2, of 40 millimeters Hg and an oxyhemoglobin saturation of 75%. A PO2 of 60 millimeters Hg normally results in approximately 90% saturation. Normal arterial blood has an oxygen partial pressure PaO2 of 97 millimeters Hg and an oxyhemoglobin saturation of 97%. From Shapiro, B.A. Harrison, and R.A. and Walton, J.R. Clinical Application of Blood Gases, Second Edition, Chicago Yearbook, Medical Publishers, Inc., 1977. With a constant inspired oxygen concentration, a constant volume of alveolar gas exchange, and a constant pulmonary blood flow, a drop in venous oxygen content must result in a drop in alveolar oxygen tension. Wow. We're doing it. A corollary is that if alveolar oxygen tensions are to be maintained in spite of a drop in mixed venous oxygen content, either 1. Alveolar gas exchange must increase, 2. Inspired oxygen concentrations must increase, or 3. Pulmonary blood flow must decrease. Thank you so much for the likes and subs. We are pushing to 500 reading books here on YouTube. Thank you so much for this peaceful place to come in here. Just read, get some mastery information about self mastery, self knowledge, anatomy. I love anatomy. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be able to bring this information to you all. And for free, that's providing a service. So thank you so much for your support. Distribution of ventilation. Greetings, highest heart love. Thank you so much for being here, local homie. Peace, live from the light here on YouTube. We read books and learn from masters. So thank you so much for likes and subs. We're pushing towards 500 where we read books. That's it. Give information to the people. so they can master thyself. Distribution of ventilation. Chapter 4 discusses the factors normally affecting the distribution of inhaled gases. Many disease states change these relationships. Example, diseases causing pulmonary mucosal edema, inflammation, plugging of bronchioles, retained secretions, or changes in the elastic properties of the alveoli result in extremely uneven gas distribution throughout the tracheobronchial tree and alveoli. Since air follows the path of least resistance, it must be remembered that any decrease in the diameter of a conducting tube greatly increases the resistance to airflow through that tube. The resistance change is a function of the fourth power of the radius, Pascal's law. In addition, the resistance to flow is partially plugged bronchi is increased by turbulent flow replacing laminar flow. See chapter 3. We are in chapter 6, oxygenation of clinical application of respiratory care. This is so powerful. Thank you so much for reading with us. Hi, it's Heart Love. We're at the middle of page 122. Uneven distribution of ventilation will result in some alveoli being underventilated in comparison with others. Figure 6.3 depicts that what occurs when one alveolus, A, receives less air exchange than another alveolus, B. We will assume blood flow to both alveoli is the same. Alveolus B has normal air exchange and normal blood flow, so that the alveolar oxygen tension is maintained at 100 millimeters Hg. Remember, the alveolar oxygen tension is always the result of fresh gas exchange in the alveolus in relation to the removal of oxygen molecules from the alveolus to the blood. Alveolar gas exchange and blood flow are normal. Therefore, alveolar ventilation, alveolar carbon dioxide tension is 40 millimeters Hg. Water vapor pressure is 47 millimeters Hg, and nitrogen makes up the remaining gas pressure. And here we go. Figure 6.3. It's the Venus admixture, and it shows the PO2, the PCO2, the PH2O, and the PN2 in A, and then in B, you'll see how it decreases. And 21% is distributed in the intake. But you see, A is a little bit more blocked off. And so tensions are higher. The tension is higher. Hi, it's Heart Love. Thank you so much. Divine Rising, Marquise. Hi, it's Heart Love. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for the likes and subs. Peace. Our mods are in the building, regulating. Thank you so much. All right, so A is a little bit more blocked off, so there's more tension. Okay, here we go. Clinical application of respiratory care by Barry A. Shapiro, Ronald A. Harrison, Carole A. Trout, second edition. See that? Welcome, YouTube. So it says venous admixture. Alveolus B has normal ventilation and perfusion. Therefore, alveolar gas tensions and pulmonary gas tensions are normal. Alveolus A has a bronchiolar constriction, which results in decreased ventilation with normal perfusion. A decreased alveolar PO2 results in a decreased capillary PO2 and hemoglobin saturation. From Shapiro B.A. Harrison, R.A., and Walton, J.R., Clinical Application of Blood Gases, second edition, Chicago, Yearbook, Medical Publishers, 1977. We are in August, powering it up, powering it up, powering it up. Thank you so much for being here. This is so great. Top of page 123. Thank you so much. All love, peace, everyone. Yes, we are doing it. Reading live from the light. All right, so the blood leaving this exchange unit has a carbon dioxide tension of 40 millimeters Hg and an oxygen tension of 100 millimeters Hg. The saturation of hemoglobin is 97%. Alveolus A receives less alveolar gas exchange, while blood flow and venous oxygen content remain normal. Therefore, the alveolar oxygen tension is somewhere between the inspired oxygen tension and venous oxygen tension. In this case, the alveolar gas exchange is poor enough to result in an alveolar oxygen tension of 50 meters Hg. The alveolar carbon dioxide tension is elevated 45 millimeters Hg because alveolar gas exchange is poor, i.e., physiologic alveolar ventilation is below normal alveolar PCO2, can never be greater than the venous PCO2. This is the key right here. Uneven distribution of ventilation with respect to the perfusion is the most common clinical phenomenon responsible for hypoxemia that is responsive to oxygen therapy. Shunt effect. Blood leaving alveolus A has an oxygen tension of 50 millimeters Hg with a hemoglobin saturation of 85%. This phenomenon of perfusion in excess of ventilation is termed shunt effect or ventilation perfusion inequality and results in left heart oxygen tensions below the calculated ideal alveolar oxygen tension. See Chapter 4. Note that the balance of alveolar gas tension is maintained by an increased nitrogen tension, PN2. Thus, nitrogen will go from alveolus to blood and cause an arterial PN2 in excess of the theoretical ideal alveolar PN2. This is called nitrogen shunting. This is so great. All right. Blood oxygen transport. Peace, everyone. Welcome, YouTube. We're reading $1,000 worth of information for free because we love the people, because we want us to be able to heal ourselves. Thank you so much. Highest heart love. We're at the page 123 down at the bottom middle. Blood oxygen transport. Here we go. Blood oxygen transport. External respiration transfers oxygen from the atmosphere to the blood. Blood oxygen transport includes the processes which are responsible for the movement of oxygen from the blood in the left heart to the site of intracellular utilization. Blood oxygen blood oxygen transport is primarily a function of three variables: one, cardiac output; two, hemoglobin concentration; and three, hemoglobin oxygen affinity. And that's where we'll pause on this reading of Third Time's the Charm. Clinical application of respiratory care. We got to page 123 down at the bottom. When we reconvene, we'll start here in chapter 6, Oxygenation. Thank you so much for being here, reading with us. Highest heart, love, and honor. We shake it up in the world where we read books and learn from masters live from the light here on YouTube. I wish you have a wonderful, wonderful Monday, Moon Day. We're going to say a prayer for our friends and family, anyone that needs it, with love water, pouring a lifeline libation into ourselves. I honor you. Thank you so much for being here. Ashe, third time's the charm. That's right, Coco. Thank you so much, love. Love to all our beloveds, to all our friends and family. We love you. Thank you for all we have now and all that is coming to us. So I love you. 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 I want you to have a wonderful, wonderful day. Remember to look up, see what you see, what resonates with you. You might see a beautiful feather drop, might see a butterfly coming towards you, right? We take a deep breath. Highest heart, love, and honor. Love you. Thank you, Marquise. Thank you, Coco. Thank you, Pushing Plant Pace. Much honor and love. Thank you so much for reading with us. Highest heart, love, and honor. I love you. You know it. You know I do. I love you. I love you. You. As you know, I love me. Won't you have a wonderful day? I will see you soon. Love and honor.